Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us. I hope you are all having a great day. In the coming hour, we will discuss how balance focus work with collaboration. They are two key enablers of a great developer experience. You may ask why. Because time is our key constraint, and collaboration, that's our key strength. So how do we get the balance right? I mean, developers need high quality time to code, but they also need rich context on what and how to code from the right people and teams. Together with my fantastic guests, we'll explore the art and science behind it. Let's jump in. I'm Anita, CAO at Network Perspective, and I'm excited to welcome our expert guests. Yevgeni, John, thanks for being here. Could you start by sharing a bit about yourselves?
Absolutely. John, do you want to go ahead?
No, after you, Yevgeny. Yeah, please.
Absolutely. All right. All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Evgeny, and again, thanks Anita and John for having me here. Actually, this is my first experience of like doing not the podcast, not the conference, but the webinar. So yeah, this is like kind of another checkpoint in my experience. Thanks for that. But yeah, I'm a director of engineering excellence at Pipedrive, and Pipedrive is one of the Estonian unicorn companies, like company which is valued over $1 billion. And I lead our engineering excellence department, which covers, I typically say that like we cover the whole talent management lifecycle from different perspectives. Maybe like I even can cover like a few of them just to give some, I know, understanding around it. The first one is the engineering employer branding. So we organize different meetups, run our R&D blog to let people know about Pipedrive. So also shameless promotion, sign up to our meetups, join our R&D blog. Very, very happy to see you like in person or like if you're reading our articles. Then the second pillar is that we also run the internship programs. So every year, like over like past several years, we run 2 internships a year, and every time we hire 10 interns, and then typically convert around like 8 out of them into the junior software positions. So in the past few years, we have hired around 40 juniors, I would say, from these programs.
Nice.
And actually, we're launching another internship in a few months. So again, another shameless promotion. So if you're looking for the internship, then please apply. The third pillar would be the career framework and the feedback, because we also want to provide a clear, structured path and the career path for our people. So we also provide like these structured feedback processes, performance reviews, so everything that helps people to grow. And we have like many examples when our juniors, they eventually became senior engineers. So in that sense, I believe we're very, very successful with like helping people grow. Here, I don't think I have anything to promote or like advertise. And the fourth pillar is obviously also the tooling for the efficiency. So like we provide and ensure every engineer has all the necessary tools that they need to develop, to test, and to deploy their changes efficiently. And we are very successful at this pillar as well. Like our engineers deploy up to 100 times a day to production.
Wow.
And we still have these 4 nines of the availability. And we also operating without any dedicated quality or release management teams. So I know here I can only say big kudos to all our engineers and the platform teams for such an amazing operational excellence.
You are
So
so
yeah,
many things well structured, Yevgeny. Like
so yeah,
amazing.
so just try to give some insights right away so we can set the scene like around this topic. Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's awesome, Yevgeny. All the other times we've spoken, and it's such a pleasure. Um, yeah, I think I want to sign up for one of those internships and learn.
Be our
Yeah,
guest.
And
yeah,
try to experience that.
right. Yeah, because yeah, I know so many companies would would love to be able to learn how is this possible. So yeah, that's awesome. My experience is not nearly as awesome as that. But what I try to do at Adaptivist is what I've been doing for decades, helping teams get better at getting closer to the nirvana that Yevgeny describes. It's much harder than it seems at times. And I love the fact that we're actually going to talk about some of the most important, I think, aspects to be able to even have a chance to get to where Yevgeny is. So my background is started with aeronautical engineering, flight simulation. That's where I started cutting my teeth with software and realizing the power. Way easier to bend software than it is to bend metal or carbon fiber. So yeah, I got hooked by the software bug and been doing it ever since for decades. Founded a couple of companies. I enjoy immensely helping teams build products. So that's enough about me. Not an expert in anything, so you introduce me. I like to say I'm not an expert. I know a lot of,
but you are a great learner for decades.
A little bit. I know a little about a lot of things and curious. Yeah. So.
Yeah. But you, John, you know how to ask the right questions, because I remember like we had several talks with you, and then you help like to think about different perspective when you're asking your questions. So yeah, you're definitely an expert since you're like asking very right questions.
And many lessons learned for decades, I would say.
True. Yes.
So thanks, guys, and let's start with the basics. Deep work drives delivery, and collaboration helps keep the right direction. Deep work, defined as at least 2 uninterrupted hours, helps engineers reach a flow state, which is key for high-performing delivery, right? GitHub's Good Day project found that reducing work interruptions can boost developer productivity even from 7 to 82%. At the same time, collaboration is key to defining, specifying, and aligning around direction. Also at GitHub, collaboration is a key multiplier in the DevEx formula, driving developer productivity, impact, and satisfaction. DevEx reports show a similar pattern, but from a different perspective. Lack of deep work is one of the biggest time wasters for engineers, yet they still deal with unclear priorities and requirements. So the big question is, how do we protect time for deep work while having deliberate, high-quality collaboration? But let's break this down into smaller parts. Yevgeny, how do you protect focus work across your dev teams at Pipedrive?
Well, maybe first of all, reflecting on what you have mentioned, as I said before, that like we actually have a high operational excellence at Pipedrive and overall high performance, and I believe that this deep focused work and time for the focused work is very essential for this high performance. Because overall, like if you're like busy all the time and you don't have, I don't know, enough time to step back, to detach from the situation and see the bigger picture, then you won't be able to make the right decisions. And it's very important, like to always like just to make even this physical step back, look around.
Yeah.
All right, so am I doing the right thing? Is it still the priority? And then continue your work. And again, if you're like just like this hamster in the wheel, then you just like running and running,
Very
and then
reactive instead of being active.
yeah. So that's why like for Pipedrive and for us, like in our engineering culture, it's very important to have the uninterrupted blocks of at least 2 hours. Like this is our definition of the focus time, that like this uninterrupted block of the 2 hours that allow our engineers to be more creative and tackle the complex problems. And yeah, like we asked like how we protect that, and we protect this in many different ways. It can be very simple things, like such as we have introduced a year ago, I think, the focus days, when we provide 2 focus days per week for whole R&D with no recurring meetings. So there are 2 days for the people just to focus on their job and just like to deal with the tasks with no recurring meetings. And also the other maybe simple thing we have also introduced are these they called speedy meetings. This
Yeah.
is a Google Calendar feature. Like what if you like enable that, it will like make these 60-minute meetings 50 minutes meetings. 30-minute meetings will become 25, I think.
Yeah.
And then if it's like 90 minutes meeting, it will become a 80 minutes meeting. So basically it just cuts the meetings by 5 to 20 minutes, just like that you have time between your back-to-back things. But it can also be something more complicated. At Pipedrive, we have such a thing which we call the mission framework. Maybe in a nutshell, these are the projects or let's say there is a project which requires more than 2 engineers for over 2 weeks, and then we call such a project a mission. So, for example, we need to develop some new, I know, AI feature to summarize the emails, or we want to create some new UI for some, or like rework some UI for some feature to make it more user friendly. And then we will put the people on the mission for some dedicated time. And then every mission will have a mission lead that define the scope, will set the success criteria for the OKRs. And then like we will find the relevant people for this mission. Let's say it will be a designer, a PM, several engineers, like backend, front end, whatever like is needed like to deliver the targets. They will create a backlog, do the estimation of the time they need. And finally, once like we have this scoped, they go on a mission and they focus only at one thing at a time, delivering this particular mission. They won't do any on-call duties. They won't attend any irrelevant meetings, which are not in the scope of this mission. Only one mission at a time. Like, I don't know, James Bond. You go, you need to, I don't know, complete something, and then you don't, like, I don't know, do something else.
And you
This
need
is like
focus on that.
absolutely, absolutely. This is
Yeah.
like very important, especially if you're a James Bond. And then maybe the other like this kind of not already a simple thing is the having I would call data-driven insights. We quarterly run different surveys, measure different sentiments. It can be a deep work, realistic timelines, clear direction, efficient processes. So we want to take a snapshot of the people perception, how they feel about the processes and what they tell us, because you can gather as much data as you want. I know some factual data from Google Calendar, factual data from, I know, GitHub, Jira, but it just kind of it's a data, but you want to get the feelings also, like what people tell you about, like how they feel about the processes, how much time they have for that dedicated focus time. So yeah, so like we run these surveys to understand the processes. Also, we have a dedicated developer experience PM who oversees the process, help team to analyze the results, to implement the solutions, and to overall orchestrate that. So yeah, it's not just like we give some survey and then we say, deal with it. You have some data, somehow you survive. But we want really to help them to survive, and success. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. And Jon, what's your perspective on this?
Yeah, it's shaped early on by this book I read. It's an older book called Slack. And I like to say you need Slack, but not the tool. I mean, Slack the tool is good, but it can often reduce the amount of Slack you have. So you're gonna have to figure out when I capital S and not capital S. The point is the doing simple things, it's okay to be interrupted. It doesn't really matter. Um, but if you are trying to innovate and create and do more complex, deep thinking type things, getting interrupted all the time by like a Slack message is not helpful. And so I love the fact that Yevgeny talks about, if we're putting a team on a mission, try to let them do the mission without having them fight fires, and that's such sage advice that, it's so simple on the surface, but often teams get, driven by the firefighting. So if you don't have those blocks of time to do the deep thinking, the odds of creating, effective results and solutions and doing your best work are diminished. So I think it's really important to find ways to give yourself the necessary slack in your day to be able to think and do, and not just react and be busy.
So, Evgeny, Jon, here's my next question. What does a good collaboration mean to you, and how do you foster it? Evgeny, I'd love to hear your tricks and tips on that.
Uh, I remember like one of my ex-managers told me like, Evgeny, you're not a man of one word. And when it comes to the collaboration, I already have a wall of texts in my mind. I'll try to make it short. At the same time, I'll try to give some context around it. So first of all, good collaboration for me means having a clear intent for our interaction. So like we have a purpose why we do something what we do, even like when we interact. So what is the target? Like what are the expected outcomes of this conversation? But overall, when it comes to Pipedrive, the first thing that comes from the top of my head is that we foster an extreme ownership mindset in the whole company. And actually, we do this from the day one. And actually, by extreme ownership, I mean taking it very extreme, by taking the full responsibility for every stage of the software development lifecycle.
Oh, wow.
At Pipedrive, in that sense, every engineer is fully responsible for their work, developing changes, testing these changes, deploying them to production. Of course, like we have a lot of internal tools and libraries we provide to help them to succeed. But still, when changes are ready and developer wants to deploy them, we don't want them to go to some, I don't know, release management team and ask them to click this release button.
Yeah.
We want that engineer clicks this button, because then they feel empowered and then they feel this responsibility, like I am deploying my changes to production. They might not fully understand, I know, all this magic behind Argo CD, Kubernetes, Docker Hub, everything that happens behind the scenes. But we still want them to take the driver's seat and click this deploy button to have this production under their control. The same actually like also applies to the quality. We want to avoid this traditional like holy war, when like developers develop something, then they throw it under the fence to the testing team. Testing team does some quality stuff and then throw it back over the fence to the developers. And then there is some bug in production, and then this blame game begins. Like developers blame testers, you did a bad job. Testers blame developers, your code is, I know, untestable, or just, I know, you just did a bad job. And then instead of like doing the job, people just, I don't know, try to find the excuse or like bottlenecks or whatever. So again, even here, we expect developers to perform testing on their own and with the right tooling. And this is our experience. This is our experience. We have 300 engineers. We have no dedicated quality team. We don't have any dedicated release management team. And actually, developers do the brilliant job in testing. And we still have these 4 nines of the availability. We have a low amount of the production bugs reported by the customers. And of course, there are a lot of room for opportunity, but for improvement. But our experience tells us that this approach streamlines our processes and
Mhm.
also boost this accountability. So extreme ownership is one part of this formula, but there
Mhm.
is a second part, and now I already imagine that I'm having this long monologue about that. But
Please
but
do.
but the second part is what we call a customer obsession.
Mhm.
So this is something that like we really want to improve the collaboration between the teams and departments. And our approach to this is to, or by having a customer-centric initiatives, because when everyone is connected to the same goal, like make our customers
Yeah.
happy, then like everyone start collaborate even better. So that's why like we really want to ensure that every employee understand our customers. And actually, this is very important for Pipedrive and for the companies which are similar to Pipedrive, because I know it's very easy to be a Starbucks or to be a McDonald's because, or like when you're working in these companies, because you use your product, you every day, I know, drink coffee, you have, I know,
Mhm.
your hamburger, you also have your friends using these services. So you use your product, you see your customers every day, and then you can come up with some, I know, improvement ideas and you relate to your product.
Mhm.
But let's say where Pipedrive, like it's a sales CRM, I believe very few of our R&D people like have a sales experience or like they did sales at all in their life. So in that sense, like it's very important that we connect every employee to our mission to help small businesses grow.
Mhm.
And for that, like we apply a lot of different, I don't know, techniques. Let's put it this way. Like like the first one, we bring our customers to the company all hands. So every
Wow.
company all hands, like we book this 15 minutes block when we bring a customer and we ask them how you use the Pipedrive, what is your business about? And also like there is a very powerful question we ask from every customer that like what you would change in our product if you had this magic wand. And then
Yeah.
everyone in the company can listen to them like, all right, what works, what doesn't, what can I improve? And different customers tell different things. And then let's say I'm a member of a team which develops some functionality. I listen to the customer. Aha, they want to improve the thing that I'm working on. So then I
Mhm.
have like more exposure to this, like or like more willingness to
Yeah.
fix this. We also organize the recurring customer panels. So we want to invite also our customers to the panel discussions. It's something similar like to these company all hands interviews, but like a bit longer
Mhm.
when we like give more opportunity to the panelists to introduce their companies, their challenges, so we can actually also relate that to them. One interesting thing we also started doing last year, I think, we started using our customer products at our events.
Wow,
So
that's great.
let's say we purchase our customer products for the, I don't know, summer days, or like we use catering services of our customers that they provide, or we buy some products from them to make the gifts to the employees for the anniversaries or the birthdays or whatever like occasions it is. And again, you as an employee, you get some gift, and actually this is something produced by your customer. So then you, aha, so I can connect these two dots and I
Yeah.
can have a stronger connection to that. Every newcomer who joins the Pipedrive, they also get a full guided week to learn about the Pipedrive product. So like they just focus on one thing at a time. Again, it's a mission.
Mhm.
Like for the first week, we want them to learn as much as they can about Pipedrive. We also provide them a trainer who explains everything.
Mhm.
Previously, there was a like culmination, like this examination, let's say. It was followed by the 2 days working at the customer support. So you're the
Oh,
newcomer,
wow.
you join the
Yeah.
company, you do the 1 week of the product onboarding, then 2 days of the customer support. Of
Yeah.
course, you will be shadowing a real customer support agent, but I remember like myself, after a day of shadowing, I was like pretty comfortable to start answering the questions to the customers myself.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this tradition was lost during the COVID times because everyone went remote, but we are also considering to revive this. And maybe the last thing that like also we like started developing recently, like maybe half a year ago, we started also like developing an internal analysis solution. So like we develop a solution which analyze all customer support tickets to help engineers and the PMs understand what works and what doesn't work well. Because like there are thousands of the customer support conversations. Obviously, no one can read all them through,
Yeah.
but now we have the AI. We can also summarize, categorize, enrich the data, and then give some summary. These are the top topics that your customers are telling you. These are the top things that like they are happy about.
That's
So basically
great.
giving this again, connecting employees and the customers. So this is what comes up when it comes to the good collaboration.
Amazing. Thank you, Yevgeny. Jon, what do you think about it?
Yeah, no, those are all really good techniques. I've experienced with many of them, not all of them, but yeah, they're super powerful. For me, the first bullet of the manifesto talks about individuals and interactions. That's the essence of what we're talking about, collaboration. And what makes good collaboration? How do we know if we're collaborating? That's a really good question. And I think a lot of it depends on, as I often say, aligning the thought bubbles around what it is we're trying to do. Why are we collaborating? Why are we here? And that allows each of the collaborators to essentially answer that question. Are we, is this good collaboration? Is it necessary? Yeah, I fear that it is kind of one of those things that you'll know it, like you'll feel it, you'll know it when you see it. Sadly, most of the time we don't actually do what Yevgeny's talking about. We pass documents around. We have the illusion of collaborating, I will say, and not recognizing that oftentimes the root cause of a lot of missteps around collaboration are the fact that we think it was clearly stated, we put it in a document. Yevgeny talks about, even throwing code over the wall to someone else. Yeah, that's the road to continual rework and misery, basically. But yeah, collaboration is so important. And I think part of it is getting over the inefficiencies. Well, why did you bring the young developer in the room, Jon, to talk with the customer? Can't you just talk to them and then tell everyone what to do? Right? That's what you're fighting. The illusion that we don't need to talk as much, we don't need to collaborate, we can just capture it in documents and everyone will know exactly what was said. So yeah, I love Yevgeny's approach.
Thanks, guys. And I have something to you. Before our talk, we asked tech leaders for pro tips. Let me share one brilliant answer with you. Hire people that love focused work and are able to do it consistently. Then make them attend as little meetings as possible. This will still be too much for those who can't focus consistently, but those who can will make time for what they really love and value. You can't cut on communications, no matter how much focus work you do. If it's in the wrong direction, it's useless. That's what I always try to implement, also keeping in mind social laziness, single person responsibility principle. I think it resonates with what you've already been talking about.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. Yeah.
So my very last question in this part is, what challenges have you faced in balancing focus work and collaboration?
John, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I think we probably already touched on it, but the pressure that I think we unwittingly put on ourselves around um, taking the time necessary to dig into a complex problem. And I often say the ability to sustain discomfort is a really important skill to learn. And so many people want to shorten things. Often I use the phrase you have to slow down to speed up. So I think that's what we're fighting. Um, don't want to spend too much time focusing because we got to get stuff done. It's that constant drumbeat from the outside and even inside some of us that make it a real challenge. So I think a lot of it is attitude and culture, and we just beat ourselves up with project management stuff.
How about you, Yevgeny? Any challenges you faced in this
Well,
context?
Well, absolutely. Like there are always challenges and room for improvement, and this is why we also prioritize these issues highly. And I want to believe that like we don't just fix the symptoms, but we solve them, I don't know, strategically as much as we can. But maybe like the immediate difficulties that pop up from the top of my head are we obviously had a lot of conflicting meetings when teams and individuals had too many things to attend. They were overlapping. It was also hard to predict when and which meeting would occur because like you can get some meeting very short notice and it'll pop up in your calendar and then it already ruins all your plans. We also had these unproductive meetings with 10 plus participants, especially without a clear agenda, and people were like unsure why I'm invited, who is like even taking the notes because it's like very important to someone take the notes. It might like sound very dumb for I know that like oh I'm not going to join the meeting to take the notes, but there should be someone like who helps with this. Luckily nowadays there are AI tools, but a year ago there was nothing like that that can like I know read your transcription, produce the summary, produce the action items. But even in the past we were discussing like hey for every like meeting there should be someone who takes the notes who I don't know, defines the action items, who facilitates the meeting, and very often facilitator and the note taker should be two different people because one person can't combine two these kind of topics at the same time. Again, conflicting priorities and the lack of resources when teams were working in the silos, and then some team like has some big mission and they need like some extra resources and they are struggling to find these resources while there is some other team who is having more air in their roadmap and then they have this leisure to do some technical stuff and have a I don't know, lower pace and then like there are teams who are not kind of helping each other to succeed. And obviously, we also had a lot of waste, and we still, I believe, have waste in our processes. And it's not only about the planning processes or some other processes that you traditionally think of. One of the like immediate examples I have is a few years ago, we started asking our developers like, how many hours a week you waste on troubleshooting your dev environment? It's not the process. It's just like how much time you waste on some problems with your dev environment, because dev environment is something that you open every day, and we wanted to know, is there any problem? And then we were shocked when we learned that it was like 2.5 hours every week. Every engineer said they are wasting on this. they said like every morning I have to troubleshoot for 20 minutes some problems. Then I have like some other issues like throughout the day. And then like given our growth, like, and we were like growing dramatically, like we had 50 engineers, then over the year 100 engineers and 150, 200, 250, 300 engineers. So multiply 300 engineers, 2.5 hours a week. This is a lot
Monthly, yearly. You
yeah, it's
can
a big
imagine.
loss. Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, it's not a process, it's a tooling. So you
Yeah.
want to avoid this as well. But the good news is that when people experience these issues firsthand, it makes much easier to convince and buy in from both employees and from the upper management to fix these problems, because everyone wants to be productive. Also, upper management want their people to be productive. It helps everyone to reach their OKRs.
Yeah.
So this collective understanding helped us to prioritize improving and working on these challenges, and again, not fixing the symptoms, but solving it strategically.
So let's talk about the solutions and let's explore how top tech teams protect focus work while balancing collaboration. And from what I observed, there are three key practices, I would say. The first one, reducing meetings or switching to async alternatives. The second one, structuring deep work and meetings better. And the third, more advanced practice of using data to refine habits with team level feedback. And here are some examples. Shopify experimented with radical massive meeting cuts. Slack, GitLab, and many others have Focus Fridays. Slack also runs Makers Week quarterly with no recurring meetings. Atlassian, on the other hand, is testing Loom recordings to replace some meetings at scale. Uber and Stripe take a different path. They use real-time data to give teams weekly deep work feedback, and this is valued as highly as code metrics. Teams using our WorkSmart AI tool go even further because they get weekly data on deep work, meetings, and context switching time, but also insights who they collaborate with via meetings, chats, and emails. And from my talks with Hanekamp and with you, Yevgeny, I know that you take a different approach, smarter structuring of meetings. We'll get to that in a moment, but first let me share another pro tip that relates to this practice. Try to schedule as many meetings in the same part of the day as possible. When we have meetings with 30 to 1 hour gaps between them, they are focus killers as the ramp-up time is worse. Having a part of the day where there are no meetings allows me to focus on getting things done. So, Evgeny, what's your approach? How do you structure meetings at Pipedrive?
Well, perhaps like I already mentioned, a few techniques we apply, but overall, our main approach that we try to follow a clear weekly rhythm, as you can see, like also on these visuals. So for every team across the company, we have these 2 focus days. So these are the days with no recurring meetings. So we ensure that like this is the time for the uninterrupted work. It is Tuesday and Friday. Then we have 2 team days. So these are the days which are, let's say, reserved for the team sync ups, for the team collaboration. So this is like time for the teamwork. These are the Monday and Wednesday. And then we, like, as was also mentioned, like in some of the advices that you shared before in these screenshots, that we have like, we try to put all other meetings to the one, we call that big meeting day. So all the major events like company all hands, R&D all hands, I know whatever other like meetings that like some even company trainings or like some other like things which are relatively big, they happen on Thursday. So then people can predict how to plan their time. So this is like the major approach regarding how we structure the meetings, but also like we follow, as we call that, 3x3 meeting format. And this format, like free means that like there are 3 blocks before, during, and after the meeting. And for every this block, before, during, and after, we have also 3 specific actions that should happen before the meeting, during the meeting, and after the meeting. So before the meeting, for example, you want to have some, I don't know, like meeting agenda that you have communicated that in advance. During the meeting, you want to stick to these topics and discuss what was agreed on. And also you expect that people have the full involvement and so on. And after the meeting, we expect that like you will share the summary, you will share the action items, document the takeaways. So basically, there are particular things that we expect before, during, and after the meeting when the meeting happens. And in addition to that, we also, for the, again, relatively big meetings, we also ask to like measure this, how healthy was the meeting? Like, was it a good use of your time? Let's say when I run my all hands with my department, I always ask this question, just like it's a 20 seconds question. QR code to the Mentimeter, give the score. Was it a good use of your time? If it wasn't, all right, lesson learned. I will adjust, or maybe I need to repurpose the meeting. Maybe like I have invited a wrong audience, or like I was not very explicit in my intents, or whatnot. So then it will be assigned to me like to improve on that.
What I also love about your approach to structuring meetings during a week, Yevgeny, is that this way you are not only protecting focus time and structuring the meetings, but somehow you are also managing or structuring the context switching, because people can focus one day on operational things, solving problems on a team level, and then they have another day just to focus on things like that are bigger or of other, with other context. And that's also like really great about this approach, I would say. And Jon, what's your take on this?
Yeah, I think it's another one of those really simple things you would think to be able to manage calendars and meetings and things like that. So I love seeing a bold colored approach, with that screenshot that you shared. That makes it really obvious what we're doing when we're doing it.
Yeah.
Because I find some days, well, I can tell, like yesterday, I don't know, near the end of the day, I had 32,000 steps. So I know it was back to back, tons of meetings. Admitted we're doing workshops, helping clients, and talking to. So it's work. It's what I do for a living. But at the same time, the customer and the many teams that I work with also have those kinds of packed schedules, and you wonder how you get anything done. So I love trying to get some elbow room, and the tools that your company provides are great. The approach Yevgeny's taking, I would encourage folks to think long and hard about how they're spending their time in meetings. Is it productive? Do you have the ability to leave a meeting if you think it's a waste of time, or is that frowned upon? Things like that, because we often get into a meeting and just feel like trapped. So I think it's a really important topic to have, your company, your team address.
So now let's talk about measuring collaboration and deep work. Yevgeny, how do you measure it at Pipedrive?
Let me think. So in that sense, like we combine different source of data. So we combine this sentiment data from our quarterly GetDX surveys, but we also have some quantitative data from the Google Calendar. like with this Google Calendar, like there is some grain of salt because like when you extract the data, you don't know what are the title of the meetings due to the like these privacy reasons. Also, like people sometimes like I know, let's say I was visiting a dentist, I'm adding this block in my calendar just that no one will book my time. But then it was not a meeting; it was like just my personal errand. Or like there might be meetings where like people are invited but they don't come. So there, it should be treated with the grain of salt when you take the data from the Google Calendar. But still, like when you have a big data set from the whole company, it still gives you some already signs. Are you moving in the right direction? How big of a meetings are happening? When they're happening? Do the people have enough focus time? But again, we also combine this with the sentiment, like this perception of the people, like what they feel and what they tell us. Like, do they have enough focus time? So we monitor this focus time to ensure that engineers have these uninterrupted blocks for the deep work, both in Google Calendar and using these GetDX surveys. We also, as I mentioned, assess the meeting, I know, health. So asking like, what was it well spent time? We run these surveys like to identify again this process waste, which I already mentioned with this 2.5 hours per week per developer lost on this troubleshooting dev environment. And we also have some kind of other side, I know, complementary data. We don't like, I know, draw any conclusions based on this. Like we used to have this plural side flow, the tool which helps you like also to know what is the amount of coding days engineers have. It like has some, I know, dark magic behind it, how it's calculated, like total amount of some commits per day, per something. So maybe like it's just like I'm not well educated into this topic, but again, it was like we used that as some complementary data to see, is it like reasonable amount of the coding days every engineer has? Is it growing? What is the trend? As well as like what is the impact engineers have when it comes to measuring like how much code they have written and so on, not to just evaluate their work, like you are a bad engineer and you're a good one, but just to see what is the trend. So like, are our actions to protect your time and to provide you better processes and the focus time help us to see they have more healthier meetings, they have more coding days, the impact is better, quality is better. I know they have enough time for the uninterrupted work. So yeah, and actually these efforts have helped us to achieve this, like in this DORA metrics, there is, I don't like myself, like there is a different levels, like the top of them is elite, as they call it. Maybe they have changed it already. So yeah, we're at elite level according to the every DORA metric. And this is why I don't like it, because it looks like I'm showing off, like, we're at elite level at DORA metrics. But yeah, but like this is a first indicator that we are beating this industry regarding the thresholds for the DORA metrics. And we also consistently outperform industry benchmark when it comes to the developer experience index in this GetDX. So our data-driven approach helped us
To be an elite.
and to get like a high operational excellence again.
Yeah, that's great. Let me share one last pro tip with you. I've chosen it because this one illustrates just how complex collaboration can be. I work with highly decentralized, distributed teams across 10 time zones. We have limited time for real-time collaboration and so try to promote async working best practices, durable documentation versus meetings chats. We make meetings optional for non-essential staff and purge meetings that no longer add value. We have channels for on-demand sync collaboration that can be shared and accommodate sliding scope. Members can join and leave topics as necessary. This enables us to cover about 18 hours a day with continuous development and feedback. And now I would like to move to the final question and closing thoughts. Jevgeni, Jon, can you imagine there is more we could do to keep the right balance between deep work and collaboration? Jon, maybe you as the first one.
Yeah, I mean, even those pro tips brought me back to, I started doing remote work with a team in St. Petersburg, Russia, back in the mid to late 90s. And since, so that kind of time zone overlap, that how do we get things more effective? And, so for me, a lot of that depends on setting things up, making sure we have that pool of shared knowledge, making sure we have the right things in place to allow the rest of our activities to flourish. So it's sort of a bit of a catch-22 that you need to dedicate some time, some focus time, to get to a point of enough shared understanding so that your collaboration, like in that case, if it needs to be crazy and it needs somewhat be async, you're able to be more effective. So that relies on a lot of other good practices around sharing knowledge, architecture, understanding how to write non-ambiguous things. Like
extreme ownership, like Evgeny mentioned.
Yep, and a really good culture of saying, thanks for writing the pseudo BDD and the Jira issue. I still don't understand. We need to talk. That kind of thing, instead of just. So yeah, I think it's a fascinating challenge that the topic that you've presented here provides all of us, is how to do the right deep work, how to protect it, yet how to be able to collaborate across, what many of us do work across time zones. So no easy answer.
Evgeny, any final thoughts from your side?
Well, again, of course, there are many different things that we want to try out as a next step. Some of these ideas are like maybe even crazy, but worth trying. But like maybe simple one, you also mentioned like maybe Confluence or some other company uses these looms, like to record the meetings and then like make the meetings more async. This is actually I'm something trying or experimenting myself when I see that like I could just present something and record a Google Meet and then share it with my team. They can watch it even like at the X2 speed, just like to save their time, or just like to scroll the beginning and whatever, or like just read the transcript. I also heard there was, maybe it's Spotify or somewhere, like it was like maybe too extreme, but maybe worth trying. But in some company, they just wiped out all the meetings which had like 5+ attendees or something. And then actually the conversion rate, and I mean by conversion that how many meetings were eventually recreated, was pretty kind of nice. So like not that many, like it was not that all the meetings were recreated, which yields the results. So like some of the meetings
you
people
reflect on
considered
the meetings to recreate them, right?
Yeah. Maybe like this is something we want to try out. But again, like it also all about the discipline. So it's not only about bringing the new practices or processes, but it's about sticking to them and following them. And this what takes a lot of courage, or like a lot of these muscles to develop. And
it takes a lot of constant partial attention and vigilance, we would say, to not fall back into
old habits,
patterns.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Great insights. Jon, shall we check the chat for the questions? We have a few minutes to answer, I guess. Anything?
I've been kind of keeping up with them. I don't know, unless someone wants to pop something in there. There's some good conversation that will flow into the LinkedIn as people watch this. So I don't see anything crazy.
So, Evgeny, Jon, thank you. And a big thanks to everyone for being here. See you next month.
Thanks, Anita.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for having me. Ciao.
Hey.
Ciao.